Oh, my friends, we have an unusual opportunity this year because really the season of Advent doesn't officially begin until next Sunday. Usually it starts the Sunday after Thanksgiving, but the fourth Sunday in Advent this year is the same day as Christmas Eve. That makes it one long day in the church. And it's okay. We'll celebrate Advent 4 at 10 o'clock in the morning. We'll celebrate Families Christmas at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And we'll celebrate midnight Christmas at 10 o'clock at night. And it will be wonderful. But it gives us a little extra time if we start today thinking about it and preparing for it. And so it happens that on what seems to be sometimes the most lethargic of American weekends, when it takes us 3 days to recover from the sin of gluttony, on this lazy weekend when some people sleep in for 4 days in a row, this Sunday, we celebrate Christ the King, and we remember Emmanuel, God with us. Amen, amen. And we prepare for the coming of the Advent season by beginning decorating together and by learning about the traditions of this season and reflecting on their meaning. And as we prepare together, we have an opportunity to remember why we do what we do and what it means to us, and why we want to share it with one another and with all the world. So today, let's prepare for the fact that Advent begins next week. Let's prepare for the season of moving toward God who makes what we want to be a predictable world unpredictable, toward God who will take our carefully structured life and shake it up a bit. Let's prepare for inviting others into the circle of hope and love and peace and joy, faith and light. My friends, each one of us knows people who live in the darkness, people who need to hear the good news of the promise of Advent, the promise that in the darkness, in the shadows, in the unpredictable anxiety of our unfinished lives, God is present. God is in control, and God will come again. With each candle that we will light on our Advent wreath, the shadows will recede a little bit. The promise will come a little closer. With each candle that we light, we are proclaiming that the light shines in the darkness, that the darkness will never overcome it. The promise is that wherever there is darkness, wherever there is dread in our lives, wherever there is darkness or dread in the world around us, God is present. God will help us not only to endure, but to conquer. For God ultimately is in charge. Hope is always alive. And as long as the night may seem, morning will come. In God's good time and in God's good way. This is the message that we cling to for our hope. This, my friends, is the message that we have to share with the people whom we know in the world. We have a couple of things for you to help with that, sharing that message this year. There's some beautiful postcards. The Real Gift of Christmas, unwrap the true meaning with us this Christmas at www.churchonthecape.org and here at church. And what's the reason for the season? Jesus is the reason for the season. So come to worship at Church on the Cape. This is a postcard. There is a whole basket full of them right outside this door. Please pick up 5, 6, 10, whatever you'd like, and send them to people. Invite them to come and join you at worship during this holy season. Please take advantage of that. And if the postcard seems too much or too big, we have a small one, which you can hand to your friends as you talk to them about what's coming up. And on the back it says, peace and joy, a star and a manger. You're invited to join us as we gather together to experience the real gift of Christmas, the unconditional love God gave the world all those years ago. It tells about our worship service at 10 a.m., hymn sing at 9:45, and also gives the times for our Christmas Eve services. So take advantage. Grab 5 or 10 or 12 of those and hand them out to your friends. All right? Deal? Okay, I don't want to see any left. All right. Let me see. Now, where was I? Okay. Use these to share the good news of God's love, which is found here. Amen? So that others may find it for themselves. Today we begin to decorate our sanctuary in preparation for the season of Advent. When you think about Advent, what are the images that come to your mind? The way that we understand Advent and Christmas determines our approach to this season. Are the decorations the essential work of Advent? Or is it more opening our lives to the coming of Christ, learning to live together in peace and in joy? Will Christmas come only if we do all the right things to get ready for it? Or is Christmas a gift from God that arrives whether we're ready for it or not? Don't misunderstand what I'm saying. I think it's wonderful that we place poinsettias in the sanctuary. I think it's marvelous that we do so in memory of loved ones who are no longer with us or in honor of loved ones who are still here. It lifts my spirits when we hang the greens, when we place candles in the windows, put up Christmas trees, and decorate them. But the message of Advent is not, put up the decorations, here I come. But watch and wait. You must be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. Christmas will come, whether we get ready for it or not. Got that? Christmas will come, whether we get ready for it or not. Christmas will come whether I get ready by putting up my decorations at home, by setting a date for an open house, which is likely to happen later rather than sooner this year, by wrapping my presents and sending them out on time or not on time. Christmas will still come. We can choose to wait expectantly or not. We can choose to sleep or to wake up and watch the horizon. We can choose to give up or to work diligently for the salvation of the world and trust that God will complete that work with God's wholeness, with God's abundance. I believe, my friends, that it is up to the church to save this next few weeks from being labeled as the last 28 shopping days left before Christmas. And we do that not by bemoaning the loss of the blue laws, not by berating those whose ways of celebrating may seem lavish and inappropriate to us. The church cannot pretend that the cultural season does not exist. But certain attitudes and actions within the church community can be made and should be made to make a difference. Rather than putting Christ back in Christmas, I suggest that we work very, very hard to put Christ back in Christians. One important transformation that we can have an impact on has to do with replacing the commercialized concept of holiday with the sacred observation of a holy day. When someone says to you, happy holidays this year, we can get upset and say, no, Merry Christmas, or we can say, thank you and happy holy days to you too. Try that. Happy holy days to you too. What's the difference? Preparing for a holiday, a day off, a week-long vacation from work, 2 weeks away with your granddaughter is can be kind of a frenzied, slap-happy series of errands and chores that we do so when the time comes, we can leave and go home. A holiday is a break from our ordinary routine, a time to spoil ourselves by focusing on our favorite activities like golf or swimming or reading or lounging or traveling, a very important time. But holidays contribute to the compartmentalization of our lives. Our work lives versus our home lives. Our responsible, serious, all-business selves versus our fun-loving, frivolous, carefree selves. Holidays. Holy days should have exactly the opposite effect on us. Sacred seasons are holy because they nurture us into being whole and complete, healthy persons. Time spent preparing for holy days, like Advent, should be a time to slow down the wheel of whatever rat race we're usually competing in and to see just where it is that we are actually heading. Are we pointing toward Bethlehem or toward Bloomingdale's? Holy days, if they are actually holy, do not fit into a compartment, a religious compartment in our lives. The power and grace of a holy day is that pointing toward Bethlehem spills over into our journey to Bloomingdale's. Everything and everyone whom we encounter becomes a part of that holy living. Preparing for the holy day of Christ's birth should mark us as Christians, no matter what we're doing. As Matthew says, we are to stand prepared for the Lord's arrival, but we are not to stand still. When the Lord arrives, we should be caught busily carrying out God's will every moment in our lives. So the Advent that we celebrate in the church, the one that has nothing at all to do with the number of days of shopping left before Christmas, is both holy and significant. The hanging of the greens, the placement of the poinsettias, the lighting of the first Advent candle, all these invite us to dream dreams of a better world, to allow expectant visions that are not necessarily visions of sugar plum fairies, but expectant visions of God's reign on earth to dance in our heads. Advent invites us to fill the cup of today with a full measure of tomorrow. Both the passage from Romans and the words from the Gospel of Matthew express the Christian hope for a brighter and fuller future. Advent invites us to look to the future. But its most demanding challenge comes in the awareness and the promise that the present is also kingdom time, that Christ is Lord of the present. We've been given a gift by one of our members for each one of you to have. It's tiny, and it says, Jesus is the reason for the season. There's a basket full up back, if you go out that way. There's also a basket here by those postcards and business-type cards I had mentioned to you, if you go out that way. Please pick one up and wear it throughout Advent. It's one of the many ways that you can remind yourself and those around you that Jesus is the reason for this season. The incarnation, God coming to be present with us in the flesh, declares that the cup of the present is filled to overflowing with the very presence of God among us. Emmanuel, that single word, Emmanuel. We're going to use that word as our closing song response throughout Advent as we prepare for Christmas. God is with us, Emmanuel. Not God has been with us, not God will be with us, but God is with us here and now, today. Jesus is the reason for this season. Amen.